I mean, again, I think it's great that there is a deal coming today. We always knew there would be a deal, by the way. We've known for days that actually a security and defence pact would be signed. It's just a question of what else and what other progress can be made on a whole host of issues, because there are a lot of individual parts of this, and not all of them are related, and not all of them will get solved today. Key emotive issues such as fishing rights. Let's go straight to that as well, because a lot of people are saying there is a deal on UK produce going to Europe and vice versa, and that has been tied to fishing rights. And one part of the text which the BBC seems to have seen, which is reciprocal access to waters to fish until the 30th of June 2038, and extending energy cooperations on a continuing basis as well. So it looks like the Europeans have got what they wanted, which is longer term access to British fishing waters after the current deal expires next year as well. And the price extracted there is quite heavy for British fishermen, and you're going to hear a lot from Reform, a lot from Kimi Badenoch about the betrayal of British fishermen, no doubt as well. But the price perhaps might be worth paying for other parts of the economy, because the barriers, for instance, of British food, British livestock, British agriculture getting to the EU has meant that many of those products, it's just been not economically sensible or possible to export those goods to the EU as well. And this comes under the SPS rules, which we think there's going to be a segment on here today, which is sanitary, phytosanitary, which is something I'd never heard of before, but it basically means that we have some form of regulatory alignment, which means those products can go into the EU as well. Questions too about youth mobility, where there are still questions of whether that has actually been signed off or not. E-passport gate, something very emotive as well, of course. British tourists, British businessmen and women have found it very, very difficult to have easy access at the point of entry in Europe as well. So there may be some progress there. The British have been pushing for that. But it was interesting on that comment about the fishing, it said energy as well. And there are some really obvious areas where the UK and EU could massively benefit economically, and with very little political cost. For instance, the UK produces a vast amount of wind energy. The Europeans have, of course, via France especially, a vast amount of nuclear energy. If we have better interconnectors across the channel between the UK and across the North Sea, between the UK and indeed Europe as well, of course that is going to be mutually beneficial for both economies to ensure some form of energy security. So areas like that, very important as well across the board. Lots of other issues as well, including the contentious issue of ECJ oversight, how much oversight over the ECJ have on British rules and regulations. And I know that's something that's still very emotive for people. In fact, I've had an email from one of our regular correspondents who says, yeah, the economic arguments, I understand that, but it's about self-determination as well. So those arguments are still doing the rounds elsewhere here in the United Kingdom.